Hi everyone, it's Marie here and I'm back with a process video for Lottie Loves Paper, and I'm using the Cocoa Vanilla Studio These Days collection. So for this particular layout I decided I would use the frames paper, and I've got a photograph there that you can see on my table. It's of me and my little pup Bella, my best buddy. And that was taken when we were on holiday, and it's one of those photographs where it's like the 50th photograph out of a collection. I couldn't get her to look in the same direction that I was looking in. If I said a name, she turned to face me. If I clicked my fingers in front of my face, she jumped down because we sat on a log together. So it was just one of those hilarious photographs. It took so long to get, so it absolutely had to be scrapped. So I wanted to focus on these frames. I love these frames. When I first saw this paper, I immediately saw it being fussy cut, and the idea that I've got here is to use the frames like you would with ephemera or with patterned paper to layer behind the photograph. So I'm not going to use any other. I wanted to say this was a layout that I'd made completely with no patterned paper at all, which is not true, because I have used the butterfly patterned paper and the frames patterned paper, but I have completely cut them up. So there's no like whole pieces of paper. So I've got quite a few frames there that I fussy cut, just chopped a little bit out there of me doing that. And now I'm going to just start playing around with the positioning and where they're going to go. I make one fatal error on this layout, which is basically that I arrange everything perfectly, how I absolutely love it, before sticking anything down. Because then I decide I want to do some stenciling behind here, and I have to move everything, and nothing ever goes quite back where in the same place that you put it to start with. But never mind, I do get it looking that I'm in a way that I'm really happy with by the end. But yeah, I do accidentally kind of think, oh, I'll just play around with it. I'll just put a few more bits in. And I end up having to take everything off and basically putting it all back on again. But never mind. So I am now just fussy cutting some of the butterflies from that sheet. I don't make you watch me do all of this again. I don't fussy cut many of them at all. I wanted a peach one and I wanted a pink one because they're the tones I really want to focus on in this layout. And I'm playing around again with the positioning of those frames so I'm really happy with how they're sitting. And I do wonder about having one to maybe like balance the page and have another part frame popping off one of the edges of the paper, but in the end I do decide not to do that. It is something I would normally do, but by the time I'd finished it just didn't feel like it needed it. I've just fussy cut there another butterfly. That's from the 6x8 paper pad, so the butterflies obviously on those sheets are smaller, so you just get that variety of size of butterfly, which I really like. And the pink, I mean there are all the colours on those frames there. There's the blues, there's the yellows and the greens, but I've really kind of focused in on the pinks and the peaches, and I think you can do that quite effectively. I always used to shy away from using papers or bits of ephemera if they had the wrong colours on that I wasn't using, but as long as you choose the colours that you want to focus on and then highlight those by using more of those colours, the other bits of colour, they add a bit of interest, but they sort of fade more into the background and they don't cause a problem. They're not kind of in the way or too obvious. So you can see those little blue flowers there, but because I haven't done anything else in blue, they just kind of fade away into the background. So I'm just going to choose a colour now of Distress Oxide, and I've used that lovely pale shade there. Just taking a photograph of my layout so that I know what I'm doing, where it's going to go back to. And I think the colour I've used there is I think it's Spun Sugar. I could be wrong, but I think it's either, it could be Tattered Rose. I think it might be Tattered Rose. It's paler than Spun Sugar. It's a peachy pink colour. I'm using a stencil here from Pear Tree Cut Files. This is Scattered Hearts. And I realised that as I'm doing this, you really can't see a great deal of colour going on there at all, but it is there. It's really subtle. And to be honest, I'm not sure you can see it on the final photographs either, but you can see it in real life. It's just a subtle little tiny hearts popping out from behind that frame cluster there. So I use a very soft blending brush, and then as I place everything, you can just about see them, can't you? As I place everything back on, there aren't many that you can see in the end, but there are a few just poking out here and there from behind the photograph, and I love how that looks. I love how it turned out. So I think the the frames end up going slightly closer to the photograph than I had originally done. And even though I took that photograph of the layout, I don't think I looked back at it, because when they went back together, I was happy with how it looked. So there are just a few of those little tiny hearts poking out, just to give that extra little bit of depth and texture. I and ah at this point about popping my photograph onto a piece of pattern paper. I wonder about highlighting the blue, and then in the end I basically just decided that no, I'm not going to, I'm just going to use the frames. So what I'm doing here is I've put sticky on the back of the photograph, and then I'm adding bits in, and then just adding more sticky onto the back of those, so that everything just so that everything sticks together. I do have a bit of a moment and decide to move everything around, but my sticky tape out of that little tape runner there doesn't stick too hard straight away. It does stick really, really well, but if you get something off quickly before it's had too long to sit there, it's not too bad. So I end up pulling everything off the back of the photograph, because I've realised I've not put any dimension in, and it does, because it's not going to be a whole page, I feel it needs dimension and things just behind that photograph. So I decide to just peel everything off, start again, and put everything back once I've got some sticky foam underneath that photo. It's just cheap sticky foam from Amazon. It's one-sided sticky, so you just have to add some tape or something to the other side of it. And I just adore how that looks, and the frames are framing that photo perfectly. So I'm just going to play around now with the positioning of the butterflies, and I'm going to play around with a title. I do initially pull out these black foam words from the collection, the foam title stickers, and I pull out all the little tiny middle bits that get stuck in. And I do think that word sweet is really sweet, but it felt, because the rest of the layout is so light, and although the photograph is in black and white, it felt a little bit too heavy. So you'll see in a minute that comes back off, and I swap it for something else. Happy with the positioning of those butterflies. Just going to cut out a few random bits and pieces now. So this is a little tab from a little banner from that's the 6x8 paper pad from the cut apart sheet. I'm going to pop that on the bottom of the photograph. Now I'm going to search through my ephemera. Now in there is the main ephemera pack. The floral ephemera pack was actually 2 of the floral ephemera, because I know how many flowers I use. So I've just put it all in together. I did go through a phase of keeping the packets and ticking off the packets, the bits I'd used, so that I knew what was left when I was searching through. But I actually really enjoy just searching through and finding what I want to use, and playing around with it. So I decided to just keep doing it that way. So I'm getting out lots of different bits and pieces here. I found some hearts in the right colour, some of those black and white leaves. They match in beautifully with the frames that have been fussy cut. I love that envelope of flowers, but that doesn't make it on in the end, I don't think. Also I wondered about the tree for a little while, but decided no, that's not quite right. So just playing around really, and popping different bits of ephemera here, there and everywhere. The ones on the right hand side of the page at the moment are just sat there waiting. There's no plan to leave them kind of all scattered across the page like that. They are all going to get clustered together. Just searching through, finding what's the right colour and what's going to work for this particular page. Some pretty little hearts there, little buds and things. Right, so I've got what I've got, and I decide in the end that I really like that little banner, Picture Perfect Moments, because it really was. It took so long to get the photograph that in the end it was a picture perfect moment. So I'm going to use that as my title, and it's going to sort of add into that cluster and make it look more kind of waterfallish coming down the page, which I really like as well, especially when we add a couple of those butterflies at the bottom. And I'm going to start tucking in more bits of the floral ephemera around the frames and around the photographs. So now I'm just going to start by adding lots and lots and lots of sticky dots onto the back of my butterflies. The way I stick my butterflies down is to put glue down the middle, and make sure that the glue sticks first and then press the sticky dots down on the wings. It means that the butterflies are close to the page where their body is and their wings are higher up, so it gives it a really nice sense of dimension. So just doing the same there for the little teeny tiny butterflies. So I would bend them in the middle and stick that bit down first. Now I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided adhesive foam. I do like double-sided adhesive foam, but it's so sticky and it sticks to everything. So just, again, going to put some dimensional pads under 1/2 of the ephemera that I'm tucking in there, and then the glue goes under on the rest to stick it down. So again, you get that sense of popping out from underneath. So I'm just playing around with my butterflies now, making sure they're stuck and bending the wings back down over the foam pads. Gives a really lovely sense of dimension. You'll see it on the close-ups in a short while. So just little bits of glue, little bits of foam pads. I didn't used to use foam pads very often. I would go for big chunks of foam, but I've actually found foam pads are a bit more versatile. You can kind of poke them in afterwards if you need to, because they're nice and small. There's that other butterfly just going on there, tucking his wings over as well. And the same with that one, just folding those wings down. So I'm liking how this is looking so far. Just going to go through the puffy stickers now and pick out some of those little hearts. Just need a whole sheet of those hearts. Never mind any of the other puffy stickers, just give me a whole sheet of those little teeny tiny hearts. And they just look like confetti and they're just beautiful. So popped a few of those in. I think I've popped a green one on there and a couple of pink and peach ones as well. And then umming and ahhing about what to put on the photograph. Pop that little word sticker down there. I think that says love you on it. And then a little butterfly on the bottom corner of the photograph. Now the word stickers as well. I'm going to pop that one underneath that butterfly. Do I like that? Or does it come back off? I can't remember. I wanted the word together on there. I think it stays there. And now just having a look through the clear stickers as well. There's another few hearts on the clear stickers that I'm going to play with and pop in different places. I like little things, I like little details, because I've used quite a bit of larger ephemera there with the fussy cut frames. It doesn't need much more in terms of large things on the page. So now we're going to go for some sequins. Always love to put sequins on a page. And I'm using Glossy Accents with the new thin fine tip for the Glossy Accents bottle, which is awesome because it means it does not, well, it hasn't yet clogged up on me. I don't know about you, but I always found with Glossy Accents the bottles clog up terribly and you always end up with a pin or a needle or something. So this is a fine tip bottle where there is a needle in the lid that goes down into the tube, and then it keeps it clear so the next time you want to use it, it is not clogged. It's just like the fine liner glue bottles, it's just a lid specifically for the top of the Glossy Accents bottle. And there we go. One thing you don't see me do there is just a few splatters of paint with some gold iridescent paint, just to add a bit more detail on there as well. I thought I'd recorded it, but clearly must have pressed stop before that point. But there's my layout. I love how it came together. I hope this has inspired you. So very little use of pattern paper itself, just lots and lots of fussy cutting and lots of beautiful ephemera. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again in the next one.